Hello, welcome to another edition of PP Simmons Radio. This is your host, Carl Gallups. Listen, I want to make you some promises concerning the Obama fraud case, and I want to clear up some misconceptions. Let me begin with the very basics. First of all of the evidence uncovered in the 2-year criminal investigation by the Cold Case Posse Obama fraud case, Arpaio Maricopa County Sheriff's Office, Lieutenant Mike Zullo, every bit of the evidence thus far indicates that the birth certificate is a 100% forgery and a fraud. There's nothing nefarious about Arpaio's investigation. He set out to disprove the allegations that the birth certificate was a fraud and ran right into the wall of evidence. Zullo did the same. Both of them have given this testimony many times in public venues. I am the same way on this. I've been at this for almost 5 years, ever since the beginning. I said from the beginning I didn't believe that the birth certificate situation was a fraud, nor did I believe that Obama was a fraud. I thought that he probably was a natural-born citizen. It didn't take me long, once I started investigating it, to uncover the mountains of evidence that indicate otherwise. Now, I have said, Zullo has said, and Arpaio has said all along, if someone will present 100% evidence to the contrary of what we have uncovered, we'll walk away from it. Present the evidence, file an affidavit, put your reputation on the line, go on talk radio like I have for 5 years, sign affidavits like Zullo has, put yourself on the line, present the evidence, and if you are right, we will walk away from it. But no one can do it, no one has done it, and I don't think anybody will do it. Now, let me make you some promises here. Mike Zullo, and in some cases, I have been with him, but Mike Zullo has met with several congressmen. That's a promise. And their chiefs of staff. These congressmen are telling us that they will move forward with this information with the plan to move it to a congressional investigation. Now, that information is a fact. Mike Zullo has not lied to you about that. I have not lied to you about that. I've sat in these meetings and or have been briefed immediately after the meetings, and I would not put my reputation as a 30-year pastor on the line. Neither would Mike Zullo put his reputation on the line. And there are other VIPs with deep connections to the White House and to Congress who are making contact with Zullo every single week. They're asking to be briefed on the evidence with the possibility of their involvement in bringing this matter to a complete congressional investigation. Now, these statements that I just made, these are statements of fact. I promise you. Now, we cannot promise you that these congressmen and VIPs will do what they say they will do, or what they are intimating that they will do, or what they are saying they are planning to do. We can only tell you what they're saying, and we can only promise you that the information that we are releasing about these meetings and their plans are accurate and truthful. We can also promise you that we are working unceasingly and working very hard to move this case forward and hold the VIPs and congressmen to their promises. Mike Zullo and I can also promise you that we are way down the road from where we were just a couple of months ago, and we're quite excited about the progress that we've made in such a short time. All of this began with our CPAC trip to Washington back in March. We can also promise you that if the worst-case scenario occurs and Obama serves out his term without a congressional investigation or challenge ever occurring, then Mike Zullo and I are planning to release all the criminal investigation information to the world in any and every format that we will have available to us at the time. When the world sees it, we are convinced that most of the world will be outraged, as are the current law enforcement officials and congressmen and attorneys and other elected officials who are now looking at all of the evidence. Now, for those who might challenge the veracity of Mike Zullo's investigation, those who might say that Zullo is just playing this thing or milking it or that he's lying, let me remind you and let me challenge you. First of all, Mike Zullo filed a 200-plus point sworn affidavit with the Alabama Supreme Court. He put his name, he put his reputation, and he put the evidence on the line. He can be criminally liable if he knowingly lied or perjured himself in this affidavit. Reed Hayes, an expert digital document examiner, court certified as an expert witness and used as an expert witness by Obama's own attorneys in the past through Perkins Coie. out of Hawaii. And Reed Hayes is a Democrat who lives in Hawaii and works in Hawaii. Reed Hayes, he filed a 40-page sworn affidavit into the file of evidence in the Obama fraud case. He, too, is criminally liable, and he, too, has placed his entire reputation, business, and livelihood on the line. Let me also remind you that all of Mike Zullo's evidence has now been peer-reviewed by a roomful of sheriffs, police chiefs, attorneys, a constitutional attorney, elected officials, all of these at a convention meeting in which Mike was only supposed to speak about an hour, and it wound up being a 3-hour meeting as he displayed all of the criminal evidence that he and Sheriff Arpaio have. This was done in St. Charles, Missouri, at a big conference just a few months back. And it was with 100% agreement from every official there, every one of the law enforcement and legal peers, that the evidence that Zullo presented was accurate. Not a soul, not a single VIP, not a single congressman, not a single law enforcement official, not a single legal official who has viewed the entire criminal case has ever even suggested that the case is fraudulent or faulty or nefarious. So my challenge to the naysayers is this: put your name, put your reputation, put your livelihood on the line. You sign a sworn affidavit, file it with the Supreme Courts, show it to a congressman, show it to law enforcement officials. Oh, you haven't done that? Oh, you won't? Oh, what you want to do is just blog around on the internet and act like you know something, call up talk radio shows and call names and try to shout down the hosts? That's what you want to do? Okay, then keep yapping, because the more you holler, the more we see how afraid you are of how close that we are to bringing this entire fraud to light. Oh, and that comes back to one of my original promises. It will be brought to light. One way or the other, the world will know. I promise. Thank you for listening to this edition of P.P. Simmons Radio. Do you ever wish that you could more powerfully, succinctly, and accurately speak to the message of your Christian faith and the Word of God? This is the book you need, The Magic Man in the Sky, Effectively Defending the Christian Faith. This book has been featured on TBN, Atlanta Live, dozens of radio programs, and hundreds of markets. It was rave reviewed by the Washington Times, and it was called a must-read book. Considering the times in which we now live, you need this book. Get it today on Amazon.com or the WND Superstore.